Good morning, everybody. It is the Hake Report, la la la. And you're gonna be hearing about and talking about, you can call in, Kanye West and making America great again. We're gonna do it. Good morning, everybody. So you can call in at 888-775-3773, 888-775-3773. It's such a confusing number to say, clearly, because the way that Jesse says it is 888-775-3773. And other people want to say 888-775-3773. Thank you. Appreciate the compliments on the nice shirt. So, Joel, I just came across your Instagram, a throwback picture, and Joel has like a little afro going. That's cool. You should take a screenshot and show it. I guess I could show it like that. You can kind of make it out. So anyways, today we're going to be talking about slavery and what it matters at all today, and if it still exists today in America. And I say yes, it does, because as the Bible says, all who sin are slaves of sin. And I'm also going to talk about the men's forum. A lot of you guys are kind of jealous of us in Los Angeles because we get to have monthly men's forums at Bond, the first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And it is not broadcast, unlike so much else that we do at Bond. It's just men having a conversation about real stuff, about life. And this week at the men's forum, we talked about, or this month we talked about, are you a slave? And a lot of people didn't get it at first. But I wanted to, before I get to my calls, I want to talk about Kanye West, who's still at it, thankfully. There are, and you can actually catch Jesse's article this week. He wrote about it in the previous week. He was advertising it all week on his show about Kanye and Trump making Black America great again. And I say that they're making all of America great again, because there are guys that you cannot silence, and that's a good thing. Americans used to not be able to be silenced, men especially, and that's one of the things that it would be nice to get back to. And I think that's one thing about the culture change that Trump has brought about that I appreciate him the most for. And that's that he just tells the truth, and he tells what he believes, and he will listen to other people's opinions, but he will not be shut up. And he was not going to just cater to them, what other people want. He will be very nice to them, he will listen, he is a good listener, but he's not going to cater. And I think that Kanye has a little bit of that too. He still believes in racism and all that stupid stuff, but he's not as stable, I don't think, as President Trump has displayed. He hasn't displayed the stableness that President Trump has. But it's good. And so I want to talk about Kanye's appearance at TMZ. Kanye appeared at TMZ and he said, 400 years of slavery, that sounds like a choice. Well, a lot of people took offense to that, as though slavery is affecting them today. And it's so ridiculous. One guy was so hurt, this black TMZ employee, Latham? I don't know. But he just got up and started shouting, "You're displaying the absence of thought." and he starts preaching at him all this social justice stuff that he learned in college or on social media or reading or whatever. And it's just a bunch of hogwash, as they say, because he's saying he doesn't want to admit that Trump doesn't have any ill will, nor do most Trump supporters have any ill will towards blacks. There are people who are angry and hateful on many sides, as Trump said, on many sides. And we have to overcome that. And that's one of the things that Trump is all about, is love. And Kanye wants to be about that too. He's talking about love. He may not have the right idea of what love is. Very few people do nowadays. But it's cool because we're actually like broaching topics that have been unbroachable lately. And that is stuff like, what's the big deal about slavery? And people are still in slavery today because they're enslaved in their minds and their souls are enslaved. And so it's so nice that to be part of that conversation, because Trump and Jesse and Kanye are like three people that you cannot shut up. And there are a lot of us too out here who also want to speak out, and you have to kind of do it in your like personal life too, and that's like key, because if you're not doing it on a low level, you're not going to do it on a high level very well. And so this Van Latham goes off on Kanye and says, "That's not true that blacks are..." Okay, this is what Kanye said. "Blacks march when whites kill blacks or when a cop kills a black. But they don't care when 700 black kids are killed in Chicago. Black on black crime, 90% of blacks murdered are killed by other blacks. And the murder rate among blacks is just so high. We've talked about it many times before. And so Van's like, that's not true. They do care." And he says, they just don't get the media attention. There are activists who work day in and day out, he says, to solve this black on black crime thing. But what are they really doing? Because if they're not focusing on, men, families, pointing out where the mothers are doing wrong, and nobody wants to point out what the mother. I take that back. Some people do want to point out what the mothers are doing wrong, but you have to really deal with the issue. You can't just be like, "Oh, we have to put a stop to this violence," or this. There was a Baltimore ceasefire, a big campaign to have a ceasefire. And they went days, maybe even weeks, where this activist woman convinced the gang members not to kill. There were shootings, but not killings. And so that is like an example of what these activists who are trying to stop the violence around in Chicago, Baltimore, all over. It's happening like in the urban areas all over. And it has been worse in the 90s when the crack epidemic was really bad. But it has spiked again because with Obama validating the hatred of police and the media validating the hatred of police, and just in general, black preachers validating the hatred of police and saying, "Oh, racism. It's not even real," but they're making it out as though it's real and as though Trump is part of the problem of police killing blacks. When in reality, the blacks are the problem. They're the ones resisting arrest, getting themselves in very volatile situations, as I've talked about before. And they don't want to tell the truth about that. And these activists, some are more honest than others. I will grant you that. Some of them have been on Jesse's show, and some of them have gotten very mad at Jesse because Jesse doesn't take excuses, and they want to give excuses to blacks and the criminals and the mothers who are raising these criminals and all that. And they want to act like Trayvon Martin was a victim. They want to act like Michael Brown was a victim, which is so like ridiculous. These are like two of the most non-victim people that you can think of. I mean, there's no evidence that they were innocent victims, but yet they still want to act like they were. And so Kanye comes, and he probably does think that Trayvon was a victim, but he points out that we have to really fix the real problem, which is the black-on-black violence and black violence, period, because it's not just on black. But Kanye doesn't know that much, maybe. So anyways, Harvey Levin, I think is his name, is the owner of TMZ. And the next day after Kanye West and Latham, whatever, have it out, Harvey has this kiss-up type of interview with his employee. I presume he's the owner or the boss or whatever, Van Latham, and says, "You did so well, and I couldn't sleep at all last night." And what Kanye said was ridiculous, but I don't think it's what he meant, meaning the slavery thing, where if you are 400 years a slave, that sounds like a choice. And Jesse went on Piers Morgan and explained that. Oh shoot! Why am I getting a? I wonder if that's mine. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. I started to hear myself like seconds afterwards. So, anyways, Harvey Levin was kissing up to Van Latham, and they're just overreacting about the slavery thing. And slavery was not. Slavery is not rape. It's not torture. It's not murder. It's not even lynching. Why would you lynch your slave? I mean, yes, those things did happen, but those things are not slavery. But they want to lump it all in together as though that was happening to so many slaves or something like that. And so it's not a real outrage, what Kanye said. It's so irrelevant. Whether you think that slavery, 400 years of slavery was at any point a choice or not. What matters is now, and that's kind of Kanye's point, which was what Jesse said on Piers Morgan's show, Good Morning Britain, before his mic was cut off. And you can see about that later, or unless you have already seen it. But anyways, Jesse said Kanye doesn't want 400 more years of blacks being in mental slavery. And so that's a good point, right? Anyways, let me get to my callers. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
James.
Yes.
Hey, this is Chuck from Arkansas.
Did you say Chuck?
Yes.
Chuck from Arkansas. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hey, I wanted to talk about the one specific part of the interview. This is my first time calling.
Nice.
I'm happy to be here. Big fan of you guys.
Cool.
I saw the part where Kanye said that, black people march when it's a police shooting, but they don't march when it's black on black crime.
Right.
And you could see immediately. It's like somebody gave that van guy a cue to yell and totally disrupt the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, he tried to make an argument that said black people everywhere are working together, marching in the streets, and trying to stop black on black crime. But the media does not show that.
Right.
Well, Van, newsflash, you are the media.
I know. That's so true.
TMZ is everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in Arkansas, you have some TMZ articles. But I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, Kanye, say what you want to about Kanye, but one thing truth is truth. It doesn't matter who the vessel is.
Right.
Truth is truth. And for people to say, Kanye is crazy, well, he might be crazy, but crazy people tell the truth all the time.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, slavery is a choice. It may not have been a choice to be a slave, but the thing about it is, to remain a slave mentally is a choice.
Yeah.
And I think that was the point that he was trying to make. And anything that you relate to slavery, blacks and liberals, they automatically block out anything that you try to say. And what he did was, he actually said, you know what, I don't want to use the word slavery.
Yeah.
I'd rather use the word prison.
Because it applies to all races.
Right. Prison is kind of like universal.
Yeah.
And so when he tried to apply that to being in the prison, it went nowhere. It went nowhere at all. So I thought it was pretty sad.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, if it wasn't for Jesse, I wouldn't know how to handle a situation that happened to me discussing the situation about Kanye. I did a post about Kanye, and someone, I guess, pro-black person on my Facebook or whatever commented on it and told me about how stupid it was and wanted to give me facts about black on black crime and all this kind of stuff. And my own mom, your family are the ones that are closest to you. They'll even reject you if you do anything to come out of the Democratic plantation. They will come for you. It's just like they're coming for Kanye.
Yeah.
And so my own mom, attacked me on Facebook talking about, you shouldn't be talking about this, or you sound like Uncle Tom, and all the people are still being oppressed. Me and your dad are oppressed and all this kind of stuff. And, if it wasn't for Jesse, I would have went back and forth with her and got angry. But what I said was, how are you guys being oppressed?
Yeah.
I could not get one answer. Well, back in the day, how are you currently being oppressed right now? And the answer is, you're not. There's so many opportunities out there where we're not being oppressed, and people just overlook it because they still have that anger. And the funny thing about the Kanye interview is you can see where he was coming out of love. He actually wanted to hug the guy. As angry as Van was, he still said, I love you, man. We just got a difference of opinion. I still love you. And all, it's kind of like Kanye's been watching Jesse Lee Peterson. That's why I told my friend, I think he's been watching some of you guys' shows.
Could be. Who knows? Yeah. I think that he will be watching. I have a secret, and I'm going to share this secret.
All right.
Well, this week for a taping for The Fallen State, Jesse interviewed an ex-girlfriend of Kanye. And she said that when she saw Trump come out, running for office, she said that that's Kanye in a white man's body. And she doesn't even agree with Kanye or anything. She doesn't agree with Trump or anything. I mean, she's like able to discuss things in a sane manner, even though she's like totally wrong in all of her opinions. So, yeah, and I think Kanye may watch that interview when that comes out.
Yeah. Well, it'll be great, man. If you had Kanye on The Fallen State, man, you guys would blow up.
Yeah.
It'll be out of control.
Jesse, you made a great point about using the word slavery as opposed to prisoner, which Kanye was trying to be nice and, unite races by saying prison, as opposed to slavery. And you mentioned that when he used the word prison, really, it went nowhere. I mean, it did, but it wasn't as explosive as slavery when he used the word slavery. And Jesse, and it does apply to all races. Jesse, years ago, wrote an Emancipation Proclamation for white people because whites are enslaved to fear of the word racism or, the accusation of racism and stuff like that. And in general, just whites have fear and blacks have anger. They're both anger, but it's like it shows up as fear more. And so he wanted to free the whites from the slavery to fear, which I thought was so nice. But it's remarkable because you use that Emancipation Proclamation comparing whites to slaves, and it's so offensive to people. And it's amazing, too, because the people that react to it, some of them are black liberals who are into the black thing, but many of them are whites who you would be, like, shocked. They're, like, white Christians, fairly conservative or quite conservative in some cases, just overreacting to this, the phrasing of, comparing it to slavery and stuff. And they're like,
You
you
know
don't
what? You know what I
compare
think.
certain things. Yeah.
You know what I think. A lot of the anger comes from, and I grew up liberal, pro-black, all that kind of stuff. And if I never would have come out of it, I'd be out there marching for gangbangers too. And I'll get to that in a second. I got one more point to make about that. But it's funny though that we talk about freedom so much. We want to be free. We want to be away, out of control, out of the white man's control. But you don't want to be free to think on your own. And the thing about it, if you look at how nobody supports Kanye West. They did like a whole list of celebrities that unfollowed him on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
And when Chance the Rapper made that comment, black people don't have to be Democrats.
Yes.
Guess what? They don't. They can be Democrats, they can be Republican, they can be independent, or they can have no interest at all. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But when he said one sentence, short sentence, black people don't have to be Democrats, they attacked him so quick, he had to go back and do a 2-page thing about how he didn't agree with Trump and all this kind of stuff. Well, all you did, man, you just made one statement.
Yeah.
And I get it, because these guys, one of the biggest fears, and for mostly white people, is the fear of being labeled something.
Right.
Because once you catch that label, you lose everything. Chance the Rapper didn't want to catch a label.
Right.
He would have lost everything. He would have lost his fan base. And one of the things that I talked to my boss where I work at is, I take the same perspective as Jesse. I wish more conservative white people would stop being afraid of labels, because that's how they're winning. They're actually using labels as ammunition.
Yeah.
And I totally get it, but it's not fair at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's people love the world and cling to like physical things more than the truth, and that's a shame to see. And I've seen it like so often, especially with whites and conservatives. They just get bullied into submission so easily. And
Right.
I mean, I've never been in that situation where I've had so much and had a lot at stake where they're threatening my stuff, but I think that we got to really work strongly on our character to have the stability to hold to what's right.
I think that one thing, I think Jess would probably agree with me on this, but I think one thing that has to do with the anger that a lot of black liberals have is the fact that it comes from years of programming. It comes from years as a child. You were taught that white people were better than you, and you had to work twice as hard to achieve what they have.
Yeah.
And that no matter what you do, there's always a glass ceiling, and somebody can just hold you back at any time and just stop your progress. And you'll never be able to accomplish anything because of your skin. And once you get programmed like that, you start to believe into it. And that's where a lot of the anger is coming from, because realistically, I think most black people in America, not all, but most, but I think most of them believe that white people are actually superior to them, especially when you use a word like white supremacy. I mean, subconsciously, you're saying you're black inferior. I don't even use that terminology,
Right.
white supremacy, because first of all, it doesn't exist. So I don't even use that word. But when you use the word supreme, you automatically assuming the position right under the supreme. So I think that that's where a lot of the anger comes from, years of programming that you're not as good. And when you're not as good, you're angry at the person that you think causes you to not be so good, when in actuality, it's you. You're not putting forth the effort. You're not accountable. You're not holding people in the streets accountable. There's a church on every block in the worst hood in the urban areas. But they're not holding the people in that community accountable for their actions. The first thing they do is point out to white police as if they're the enemy. And the thing about that is, I'd hate to be a white policeman. Because, I mean, it's like you have to go to work to protect people that don't like you. And if you do your job, they're going to hate you even more. If you don't do your job, they're going to hate you even more. So it's kind of like a tough,
right.
Like, how do you win? I mean, I wish I could just help every white policeman and just send them like a link to Indeed and try to offer them more jobs just to get out of whatever predicament that they're in. But I think that that's where a lot of the anger comes from.
Yeah. I appreciate it, Chuck. How did you hear about Jesse first?
Well, I've been listening to Jesse about a year now.
Oh, okay.
And I think it came from I followed Tommy Sotomayor before that.
Yeah.
And I saw his interview with Jesse, and I was like, oh, this guy's a pretty cool guy. And then I started watching the videos. I watched the political videos before I got into church.
Right.
But then it's like he's saying exactly everything that me and my circle of friends have been saying for years. So
nice. Oh, that's great, Chuck. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, James. I'll see you guys on church.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right.
That's cool. Let's go to another caller. There was something I wanted to say, but maybe I'll think of it later. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning, James.
Hey, Maze.
Well, Chuck didn't say nothing because Chuck has been using his own brain. Everything he had to say was a liberal. And when you said Tommy Sotomayor, that piece of mess, please.
You're calling Tommy Sotomayor that piece of mess?
He's a piece of mess. He's a disgrace to his race. Sure is.
But maybe he's not. I mean, I think that he actually is kind of into his race. But how is he a disgrace to his race?
You're not getting it. He's a disgrace to it, the things that he does.
What does he do?
He's a father without, he has a child out of wedlock.
And
all of the different things that he called, excuse me?
I said that's done.
And Chuck, I'm going to get back to Chuck.
Okay.
Now, he said his boss. That's where his mistake is.
His boss?
He got a boss. Yes, he got a boss. When you are the boss, you can walk and do what you want to do. When you got a boss, you got to follow and be indoctrinated and do what he tells you to do.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Case in point, Colin Kaepernick.
And thank you. Colin Kaepernick he can walk away and do what he wants to do.
Right.
That's when you call a free person. You don't have to be a liberal.
I wouldn't consider him free.
None of those things. None of those things. So when he gets to that point, and he said what his parents think that he's a liberal, that's the ignorantest thing I ever heard in my life. When you want to pick a party, when neither party cares about you in either way.
I wouldn't go that far. There are people in both parties that don't care, but
so why do you want to belong to either one of them? You think that's the talking point? Then you want to talk about the community.
You don't join a party because you think that they care about you or don't care about you. You join a party because you agree with their platform or whatever. Yes.
No, it's not the platform. They're there for you to agree with. They're there to work for the people, not against the people. And all they're doing
it's not about the people. It's about what's right among the people. Right.
So if you saying everything is right, so since he's got a boss, he can't even make as much money as you. Because they sit and tell you, which I don't believe anyway, they sit and tell you the black community is unemployment rate is at 6%.
You're making me dizzy.
That? Either if I look at it this way, if you got 10 people look like you working in the office and one that look like me, what do you expect? And then you want to say that they owning homes at this percent. I mean, like, how do they know what black people are doing compared to what percent of them are doing? And then they said the Hispanic community is at this percent, what the amount of money that they've got, and this and that. They don't know what people have unless with their banks for their redlining and doing all these different things, and then they come out and tell you that. And what's wrong with that picture? Is it a good picture or is it an ass picture? But look who's doing it.
I lost track of what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the economy when it comes to housing.
Yeah.
You want to
and how blacks disproportionately suffer, right? Like they have disproportionate unemployment and all that stuff.
No.
And home
not how they're suffering. I'm saying how they do things and how you look at it as if you have a boss. And then you look at the inner city. Who's renting those buildings in the inner city? Who's making money off those buildings in the inner city?
I'm so dizzy. I don't know what she's talking about. I cannot follow
I know
her.
you did. I'm not an angry person. I'm just getting through to you. You're not indoctrinated for this part. He is. But you're the guy that just hung up.
No, he's not that indoctrinated. Yes, he's quite clear-minded. And when he spoke, people understood what he was talking about. Unlike with you, Maze. What's going on? But
I'm saying he's being indoctrinated because he said Thomas Sotomayor. He followed him. And he turned around and he said, who are the people he followed? His own parents. He's not listening to them. But then you say, the black community, what they need to do. I mean, if we're looking at people falling out from opioids, which Kanye said he was on them.
Which is whites are disproportionately doing.
And they're dying at a big proportion.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to do something about it, right?
Yes.
Why?
Somebody is trying to do something about it. I know that
the
Trump administration. You said why?
I said why? Yes.
Why do something about opioids?
Now, why are they trying to do something about it?
Because we don't need or want people ODing on opioids. That's not good for the country.
So when the crack epidemic came out, which
Yeah.
was put into the community, why didn't they do something about it?
They did do something about it. They
They
started
put them in jail.
broken windows
They put 'em-
policing because, crack was associated with a lot of violence and wasn't so much
No,
OD.
no, no, no. This is too. Because every day you get on the highway, you see one on the
Right.
highway,
That's true.
your life might be in danger.
Yeah, that part's true.
And you got
Because
kids in
somebody
danger
may be
going to foster
ODing
care.
on opioids and then driving and then crashing. That
Yeah,
part's
so when
true.
Yes, it is. But I don't see anybody complaining about it, worried about it. And that's when people in life.
A lot of people are. I mean, it's been a growing. You've been talking about it for forever, but people are really catching on to the situation that it is a problem, and so it's a completely different situation to the crack epidemic. People were tougher
then
back then. People had
But I'm going back to
more
it.
common sense back then, so they had tough
yeah.
policing, and there was a lot more violence in that situation. So I
Then
mean,
violence-
you can't
violence
compare
is-
it and act like, oh, it's
I'm
racism
comparing
because they're being nice
no,
to
I
the
ain't
whites
saying
and
about-
mean to the
I
blacks.
ain't saying about racism. I said they should go to jail for doing what they're doing because they're putting people in life in danger.
Right.
Children and regular people.
Agreed.
They need to go to jail too. Why
Yep.
don't you fill the jails up with them? Maybe reality of stuff around. And also when it comes to, when we were discussing the Holocaust, you can't even talk about that.
The what?
When you talk about the Holocaust, you can't even have a conversation about it.
What's the hell of what?
The Holocaust.
Holocaust?
The Jewish Holocaust, yes.
Oh, Holocaust.
Holocaust,
Yeah,
yes. That's what I said. You can't have a conversation about it.
Who, me? Personally?
Don't you?
Or y'all, meaning like you and the general you? Oh, man. She got disconnected, I think. Whoa. Somebody may have hung up on her, or she might have hung up. Anyways, I don't know exactly what her point was, but thank you, Maze. Appreciate it. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, James, my name is Patrick. I'm calling from the Great South.
Hey, Patrick, nice to hear from you.
The South is rising again.
Yes, and it's about time. So, the South has the best people. I mean, there are good people, from New York. Look at Trump,
Yeah.
and from Texas. I think I heard that Texas people are nice, and I think that scares me because I don't want Texas to turn blue, but nice people allow the country to turn blue.
Maybe
But anyways,
too nice.
go on.
But yeah, hey, I just want, I wanted to, Maze, I have no idea, 2/3 of what she's saying, so it's hard to comment on what she's saying. She
Right.
talks so fast. I'm not even going to comment on what she said, but I want to comment a little bit on what Chuck, your caller before Maze, said.
Yeah. Okay.
And talking about Kanye, and I've been thinking about Kanye for a long time, ever since he's been talking. I've been watching his interviews. I watched his interview with Charlemagne.
Yeah. You watched the
Very
whole thing,
interesting
or
I saw most of that interview. I skipped through a lot of it. I did, but I actually
Right.
saw a great deal of the content, and it was very interesting. Kanye is kind of a complicated guy.
right?
He's not necessarily lockstep with Trump
Yep.
on issues and things like that, but he admires Trump. And I think the whole thing that's going on with Kanye is very simple. As soon as he started saying some things, especially that, as Chuck said, that why our blacks have to be Democrats,
Yeah.
all hell basically broke loose.
And that
And
all blacks don't have to be Democrats was a fellow rapper, Chance the Rapper, who said that, not
Oh.
Kanye specifically. But
Okay, but Kanye did say
but the
that
point-
in his rap.
yeah, okay.
Kanye did say that in his rap. He did a rap with
Oh, nice.
the rapper T.I., where they went back and forth. Did you
Yeah.
hear that one?
Yeah, I did.
And he did mention that. He did say that line in that rap.
Okay, cool.
And so when he brought out the point about 400 years of slavery, it's very obvious that he was talking about, when he says 400 years, the first thing that would tell you is 400 years means all after slavery. It's like going on and on and on. It didn't mean during slavery. Anybody with a brain knows that. But they purposely started attacking him on saying, oh, he's saying something about slavery, knowing that they could freak out the people that are lockstep with the Democratic Party, get them mad, and as Jesse would say on his show, go into a trance. And the next thing you know, they start attacking him with memes on Twitter, and just trying to destroy the guy. It's so obvious that as soon as Kanye, with all of his fan base, started saying you don't have to be a Democrat, that they were just going to turn their guns on this guy one way or another, threatening him with Snoop Dogg, threatening him. Like,
Right.
he should be in jail. He should be in jail, and the people that are doing the threats should be in jail. This friend of Snoop Dogg's.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree. And Kanye,
Yeah.
he mentioned that in TMZ, at TMZ, he was like, the headline was, he was very gracious about that, like too gracious maybe. He's like, I saw the headline that the Crips want to come after me. There's like a Crip alert, whatever, for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read this fine print, he said, something like that. And they just want to rough me up. And he's like, that's fine. They just want to beat some sense into me. So he's like, it's all love.
That's crazy. But, Kanye, unfortunately, his life is in danger.
Yeah.
Because these people want to snuff you out and make an example of you. And it kind of reminds me, I hate to say this in a way, but it kind of reminds me of Gandhi a little bit. If you remember the movie Gandhi and his life, he was killed by his own. He was killed. He was trying to make, he was trying to do the right thing and make peace among people.
Right.
And he was killed by his own. And most people are killed by their own.
Yeah, kind of like Malcolm X.
Yeah, Malcolm X was killed by his own. Jesus was killed by his own. The Jews.
Right.
And so people tend. It's a weird thing, and I don't totally understand it. Maybe somebody a little deeper than me can make sense of this. But people tend to be killed by their own, and Kanye said the right thing in terms of waking people up. Whether you want to be a Democrat, Republican, or an independent, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'd hope that you want to be smart and not at least be a Democrat. But the point is, think for yourself. And as soon as you tell someone who's on a plantation it's okay to walk off the plantation, no, the overseers got to come in there and start herding you back onto the plantation as soon as possible.
Right.
And that's all they're doing with Kanye.
And that MAGA hat picture, that picture of Kanye wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat.
Yeah.
Pictures are such powerful propaganda, or just powerful to, it's kind of like a meme. It communicates something, and it can change people's, kind of awaken them. It can be like a shock, open people's minds to possibilities that they hadn't considered before. They hadn't even been willing to consider before.
That's right.
Somebody like Kanye could be a Trump fan. And it makes total sense that Kanye is a Trump fan, knowing what he's been like over the years. But you mentioned the 400 I didn't quite get the point of your 400 years comment. So slavery was officially 200 years, or was it 400 years in America or the Americas?
I mean, slavery went on for a certain period of time, but I think 400 years refers to the fact that we came over here basically from Jamestown, on Plymouth Rock, basically in the 1600s or something. So since that time, it's been 400 years.
I get it. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
So it's obvious that 400 years means up until now. It doesn't mean back then.
Uh-huh.
and so the whole thing is a fake.
Yeah.
And it's designed to shut him up. And they try to destroy him on Twitter. If you see some of the memes that are out there, they took that and they tried to make fun of him and make him look crazy. That's the other thing. Kanye, they're trying to make this guy look crazy because anybody who stands up and speaks the truth, look what they did to Trump. They tried to make him look like he was crazy.
Right.
Remember they've been doing all the stuff they did?
Yeah, they questioned his mental health when they're the ones who are mentally ill. Their hatred has driven them totally off the deep end, the hatred of Trump. And you'll see it among, the people that you don't even expect them to go crazy, but they do. It's pretty shocking. Like Don Lemon, that Cherry Jacobus. There's this woman who was supposedly a Republican who was going to maybe work for the Trump campaign. And then she just, maybe it didn't work out or something, and then she totally turned on him. And she's talking like a total liberal, believing that he's a white supremacist and all that stuff. It's just crazy. So, people are going nuts. And Kanye has had, a history of just acting kind of crazy and having issues. So I can't, totally say they're totally wrong in that respect. But when it comes to what he's talking about with Trump, he's making total sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kanye has had episodes that you can say crazy. He's kind of let himself into this in a way.
Right.
But look how many fans he had. If he's so crazy, why are all these people buying his music?
Right.
I mean, up until now, oh, his guy's so crazy. Yeah, but you're buying his music. So who's crazy then?
Yeah.
But the whole craziness came out when someone starts speaking the truth. They're either a bad person, or they're crazy, or they're both. In Trump's case, they call him a bad person, an immoral person, and a crazy person. And they've been doing this since the communists from way back. This is a very known communist tactic. That the way that you discredit people that disagree with you is you call them crazy, and you get them basically put away, and that's what they're trying to. All the left is basically the children of communists anyway. That they have the same ideology, so they use the same tactics. Nothing new.
Right, and you know, like the antidote, if you will. I'm getting a comment from my #1 patron, by the way, Tim, past, present, future. Says, quick point,
yeah, cool.
Blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, etc. need to focus on, he says, themselves to fix their problems. You get no answers or solutions when you blame someone or another group for your problems.
Absolutely.
This is the real issue that's
James,
holding all people back.
What's that?
He said that's the real issue that's holding all people back.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I have enough ranting. Kanye's ranted. I've ranted now.
Nice.
So I know you have other ranters that want to get on. And great show, James.
Thank you, Patrick. Take care.
Take care, man.
Very nice. Very good points. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, that's you.
Oh, right. Yes, hi there. I was waiting so long, so I thought.
Yeah,
okay,
no worries.
so hi, my name is Joe. And I'm calling from Atlanta. And I have a very, very unique point of view. So I'm an immigrant. I came from Africa, a small country in Africa. And I've been in the U.S. for about, say, 6 years. And even though I'm an immigrant, I've lived in the U.K. I went to college in the U.K. I've lived in Amsterdam, worked there. And I've lived here, worked here. I've worked in Africa. But one thing that I know for certain, and I know since I've been to America and actually come to understand some of the unique tendencies of the black man. And when I say the black man, it's because I know Africa and I know the black people say in the UK. And I also know I've seen the black person or the black man in America is they tend to have some unique attributes about them. You see, the reason I say this, or sometimes I draw these lines, is this. The black community in America is no different than, say, your African community in Congo or, let's say, Zimbabwe. They're no different. They're definitely no different because, of course, they came from Africa, so they would have the same, say, DNA line from us because they are brothers, of course. But the same reason why black folks in Africa cannot build a democracy or a system that can take care of its people is the same way that black people all over the world are having those same problems. So let me give you an example. If you take the time of slavery and after slavery was abolished, the black people that were left on, let's say, Haiti or Jamaica or name any other country where it's predominantly black, you notice that their system of living is similar to what Africa is right now. If you go to Jamaica, their home buildings, their food, everything is similar to Africa. Like the same way Africans do it, build houses, is the same way they are. But African Americans in America have the same mindset. You see, they have the same mindset. They continuously see slavery as what their problem is. But the leaders in the black community in America are similar to the dictators that take over Africa, like Zimbabwe, Mugabe, who says, we don't want the white folks here, go, leave our country. That is the same way I see our Sharpton and the black leaders here. Because what do they have in similarity with Mugabe? Mugabe lives very well in a very poor country. He has, he has everything that will make him live so rich. He's rich. He has houses everywhere, but his people are starving. But he tells the people that no, it's the white man. Let's take the land from the white man. And let's move them away. And this is the same way Al Sharpton and the guys here in America do. They say, oh no, it's the white man that is killing you. But yet they are the same people who sit with the white man. They sit with the white man, and then they make plans, right? But they benefit from the system. But yet they tell the masses, no, it's the white man. That is your problem. So focus on the white man. And so that we, the white leaders, so-called white leaders, we can live in luxury while the people starve. And it's the same thing in America. Look at what is going on in South Africa. South Africa is one of the only countries in Africa that is like the West. It's like Europe. It's actually nicer than the UK. Hello?
Yes, you're here.
Okay, so yeah. South Africa is one of the only countries actually nicer than the UK. But what is the difference in South Africa? What is South Africa? What is the one thing that is different from South Africa than every other African country? Well, it's very simple. It's the white man. It's because the white people came to South Africa and took over the people. And then, so I'm not saying apartheid is good, right? But look at what happened when the white man had apartheid and made the black people actually work, right? Get up in the morning and go to work. How they built the country. Now, today, South Africa, where blacks are now in charge, South Africa is, the blacks are even more poor than when they were in apartheid. They're actually, the leaders are telling them, their previous president had about 4 or 5 wives. He had a swimming pool put in his house for $6 million. This is a country where people, the black people who the country belongs to, are starving. They're hungry. The blacks live in poverty in South Africa. But yet, look at what the leaders are doing. They're building swimming pools in their house. And this is the same thing in America. Okay, this is the same thing in the black communities in America. Instead of the black community in America focusing on their kids going to school and being smart in math, science, where they can compete with the Chinese and the Asians, what we do most is rap and basketball, and that's what we call success. So LeBron, or I'm not hitting him for what he does, but he is a role model. No, I mean, in all the communities in the world, all the races in the world have not become leaders in the world because they know how to play basketball, they know how to sing. No, they become very successful because they took their math and science and took it to the next level. They studied, they built bridges, they built houses, they built and learned how to build a community. But this is not what is happening within the black community. You know, the things that are important for us is totally absurd. Look at the Chinese. They were enslaved by the Japanese, but they told themselves, never will this happen again. We are not going to allow ourselves to be taken by any other country. And what did they do? They built their country. They began to learn. They bring their citizens here into America. They learn the language. They learn they take knowledge. They steal intellectual property. Yeah, well, America can say, oh, why is the Chinese? Well, whatever. They've taken it, gone back to their country and built their country. Today, the Chinese are respected not because they cry and they're sitting about, oh, how we are poor. No, they're respected because they know how to build warships too. They know how to build submarines. They know how to build a society where the economy is growing. But we don't see this in the black community. What we want in the black community is this. They want the white man, that's how I see it. They want the white man to say, okay, this is my house. I built it off the backs of slavery. So I'm going to leave my house. You take the keys, go live in it. The problem with that is if black people just, if the house is given to a black man, he's going to run it down because he doesn't know what goes into managing a house. He doesn't know how a house like that, a 15-bedroom house, is managed. Instead, the white man, the black community should take knowledge of how they're going to get out of poverty. Knowledge is the only way that can take us out. Because if our kids are studying basketball, while the Chinese and other entities are studying math and science and technology, and we think we can compete, well, everything we need can be given to us for free. But we are gonna run it down. Right. Just like Chicago. Chicago is run by black people, and they've run it down. We kill each other like we animals. And if you go to London, Brixton, where black folks live, it's messed up as well. It's the same everywhere. Go to London, go to Germany, go to Portugal, go to Belgium. I've been to all these countries, and the black communities are just like what the hood is here. It's the same everywhere. It doesn't matter where you take the black man. As long as you put black people in a community and put one or two people ahead of them, they're going to be the same. And this is how we've been back in Africa. It's been even in America. So for me, the way I see it is this, with everything going on here. And like I said, I've been here in a short while. I've just became a citizen last year.
Wow.
And for me, Trump is the only person that can help African Americans or black people per se. Because if Trump doesn't say to the African leaders, we are no more going to give you aid.
Yeah.
We are not going to give aid. Then they're going to give these guys aid. They're going to buy Mercedes-Benz. They're going to buy, because look at how it works. The Democrats know very well that if they give black people aid or the black government, they're going to spend it on corruption. They know this already. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
They know this. But they continuously do it. Why? Why do you give a leader, let's say in Nigeria or anywhere, money and say, oh, we're going to give you $10 million? They know they're going to spend it on, but they still do. Trump is the only leader that will come in and say, you know what, why? No, we're not going to give you that money.
Nice.
Because we know it's not going to go to the people. And by us recognizing the truth about ourselves, we can make a change, because the only way we can compete with any other race is through knowledge. Without that, they can give us, if Boeing builds a plane and black people say, oh no, why are we being discriminated? We haven't, Boeing is only the one building the plane. Okay, Boeing says, okay, fine. You know what, black folks, this is the Boeing hangar. This is all the planes we built. Take it and make it work. It's not going to work.
Right.
They're going to run it down. It's simple as that. It's not going to work. If we take that plane, we are not going to train the pilots well. It's not going to happen. So let us recognize, my point is, black folks should wake up, should seriously wake up in America, because they're no different from Africa. They shouldn't look at Africa and think, oh, Africans, there's always poverty there. Well, in Chicago, I came to America. I'm an immigrant, and you wouldn't catch me dead in Chicago. You wouldn't catch me dead there. I just bought a house. I bought a house in Atlanta. I have a beautiful 4-bedroom house with my 2 cars with my wife. Well, somebody might say, oh, I see this country is beautiful. It has all the amenities that if you want to make it work for you, it will make you work. So if you sit here and you live here and you allow system, the democratic system, Hillary and her husband, to take the what it means to be a black person, and the media is what defines, like they did the Black Panther movie. I've never gone to see the Black Panther movie. Why? Because it's all ridiculous. This has nothing to do with Africa. There's nobody in Africa called Wakanda, or nobody even calls people like that in Africa.
Right.
It's a ridiculous movie. We should not allow the media to define who black folks are. And the only way, and especially those people talking about Kanye West and slavery, well, if they don't know their history, I'm African. I'm going to tell you, I'm an Ashanti. So I come from a very unique tribe in Africa. Well, what I can tell you is this. In Africa, during the time of slavery, what happens is, in every community in Africa, they used to have people called slave catchers. These were actual Africans, right? And what they did was, if a family has a son or whatever that is not, does not do maybe he's a bad kid, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, they sell him off. So they go to the local slave catcher and say, hey, my son is a bad boy. I need him out of the house. And the local slave catcher would take the boy and catch him maybe by the side of the river and ship him out. It's not the white man that was going out into Africa to take the slaves. It was us. It was us black people. We were the ones taking people. We would walk them from the northern part of Africa and walk them to the coast and sell them out. The white man just came with the ship, and they just stood at the coast and said, hey, listen, we like this land. Why not? I mean, let's take it.
Yeah.
And black folks would have done the same. So for me, it's just, like I said, I'm an immigrant, so I don't really like to go too much into this thing, but I know for sure 2024 I'm voting for Trump. He has my vote already.
Yeah, 2020.
I know for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, 2020. My passport is for Trump because I think Trump is unique in his ways, and if he can let African politicians, like when he said something about shithole countries in Africa.
Right.
I mean, I went to Africa during that time, and people were talking about, is that common good? Actually, Africans were supporting Trump. You wouldn't see that in the media here in America. But Africans in Africa today, I'm telling you, if you go to Africa and put a ship in Africa, let's say America say, you know what, we need about 100,000 slaves, and because we want to build a race, and they take a ship to Africa, voluntary slavery, they will get oversubscribed. People in Africa would want to just go and do the slavery by themselves. Don't worry, because the difference with the black man's slavery and the white man's slavery is, with the white man's slavery, you're going to work, he's going to make you go sleep. But the black man, when a black man takes you and is oppressing you, it's so mean. They don't have no apathy, no sympathy. I know this because I come from Africa, like I told you. If you don't know this, look at the Houthis and the Tutsis. They are brothers in the same country. See how they murder themselves. They are not from, they are the same country. Look at Mugabe and Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
See how oppressed he did his people. This is not normal, because when Africans, we treat ourselves as black people, and it's the same here. That is why in Chicago you see black on black crime so high. Why? Because sometimes if you go in and see what the reason for the killing was, it's for $20. They will take their life for $20.
Yeah.
$20. They do not respect life. So they are no different than the Houthis and the Tutsis in Rwanda. They are no different.
Wow.
You see, and so African Americans should wake up, okay? It's about time that black folks everywhere in the world should wake up and just tell ourselves, okay, this is our problem. This is the problem. We should educate ourselves. And okay, what is the opioid crisis? What happened in this? I heard the lady that was calling talking about, why didn't the black... Nobody has to do anything for you, lady. You know, the white man, while his kids was going to school, our kids were smoking weed. While his kids was learning math, our kids were smoking weed. They weren't going to the class. They are the thugs. They are the gangsters. We call ourselves niggas. We black folks call ourselves niggas. It makes no sense to me. Why do we call ourselves niggas about a word that a white man made for us? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard since, oh, my nigga, what's up? But, well, that name was a slave name. That's what they gave you. And you say you don't want the white man to mention it, but then you yourself can call yourselves niggas. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. And you would only find it in the black community. And I have a very unique view, because I've lived in Africa. Yeah. I've lived in the UK. I've lived in the United States. And in all these countries, I have seen the liberal effect. Today, if you go to London, no more is it the British beautiful empire. Now, what I fear most is if they allow, you see, because let me tell you this, not because I'm anything, but the white man has a very unique take on things, right? So even though slavery was there, it was white people that then fought for to end slavery. So the white man brought slavery, but then he later on saw that slavery wasn't good, and then he allowed it. Everything that is going on today is because society, which the white man still controls, or the white per se. When I use the white man, I'm not using it in the term of, in Africa we have a saying that while the white man is building airplanes, the black man is conniving to, kill his brother, right? It's a saying, it's a term that we use. But it's not because it's based on fact. We just look at the whole perspective. We look at what is the good that the black man has contributed to society, medicine, intellectual, And I went to college in the UK, so when if
Joe,
you go to London today,
Joe.
Yes.
This has been a great call. I got to go.
Sorry,
but
go on.
I totally appreciate it.
I think I ranted a lot, but
how did you hear about Jesse?
I think I'm subscribed to him on YouTube. So
Okay.
yeah. So that's why I've been listening to him a lot, and I agree with everything.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And call
no
again.
problem. Thank you. No
care.
problem. Would do.
Wow. Sorry that went so long, but he was on a roll, as you heard. Caller, real quick, what's your name and where are you calling from? Thank you for holding so long.
I was disconnected, but Joey was lying.
Oh, okay.
Africa don't look like he said, and he's sick too, because you find some of them still with the man of indoctrination.
All right.
He's over here. He's been to UK and all these different places. He's not the only person that ever traveled to see beauty, and not the hoods and all these different things. So he's messed up too. That's his problem.
All right.
And
Thank you,
have a good
Maze. You too. Take care. Caller, thank you for holding. And what's your name and where are you calling from? Let's wrap it up.
Good morning, James. Real quick, Bible go-to guy. Hi, Maze. Hey, you don't have to worry about understanding Maze. She talks too fast. She goes from subject to subject real quick. She has the same theme all the time. White people, you have no call-in to talk anything about black people. Don't even mention them. Don't think about them. Don't talk. Just solve your own problems. That's her theme all the time.
Yeah.
So if you want to know when she goes from point to point, bounces around and all that stuff, that's her main theme.
Yeah, she acts like we're not all human beings, so we can't talk about fellow human beings.
What does she have to say? I want to know. This last caller, this last black gentleman who was on a roll, what does she have to say about guys like him? Should he just talk about his own black people, or should he just talk about, or should he not talk about white people? I'm confused about now black people who agree that, like Jesse and like this last caller and like Sotomayor and guys like that.
Right.
They point out black problems. What does Mays have to say about that?
Yep.
Should they not stick to their own race or what?
You're right, Bible go-to guy.
It's about good versus evil.
Yes.
It's not about this color thing.
That's right. That's true.
And one other quick point.
All right.
Why is it that blacks are, the liberal blacks are so hypocritical? Because 97% are liberal in their thinking. They say the cops are dangerous, and yet they do nothing to support the Second Amendment. Nothing.
Right.
They let mostly,
some of them do. But yeah, you're right.
A very few spattering of blacks supporting the Second Amendment. It's the same conservative blacks who vote for Trump and stuff. But the great majority of them, the ones who are saying the cops are so vicious and do nothing to support the Second Amendment.
Yep.
Why? Because the Second Amendment is good. And just like Jesse
They're
said,
against anything
most
good, huh?
blacks do not support good.
That's true. All right, Bible go-to guy, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Last callers, I'm sorry I can't get to you, but tune into Church with Jesse Lee Peterson in 1 hour. Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. This has been the Hake Report. Thank you very much. Take care.